Hey, welcome to Leadership of Awesome. I'm your host Dan, and today we're going to talk about leading and influencing your peers. Now, Leadership of Awesome is an amazing group of people who are growth-minded, people-focused leaders, just like you, who are here to help each other to reach our goals and reach new heights. Let's get into it.
I think that the easiest way to influence peers is to build trust. They understand you and why you are doing things, to actually give them reasons why they should do any particular thing that you're asking of them, and get their buy-in to do something in particular. I feel like without build the personal connection and trust with people, it's very hard to ask of something.
I'd say the top tip really is to start from a position of wanting to understand their perspective, because only once you understand another individual can you A, learn from them, and B, be in a position to have a conversation that addresses their needs or concerns and uses language that will be effective. I think a key part of influencing is being willing to take on board what other people's views are, and then you can play that back and as a group or collectively come up with a better influence decision overall. So what ties into that would also be active listening. You have to really be there, not just waiting to get your word in edgeways, as it were, or listening to them, just waiting for a gap for you to give your opinion, but to be really present and mindful and hearing what they're saying and taking that on board.
Top tip, for me, it is, I always go with trying understanding people's values and beliefs, and that's their personal values and beliefs, as well as their professional objectives and goals. They might not be the same as yours. I've found that, my personal values are aligned with honesty and fairness. However, they might be a little less on the priority list for other people. So it's just understanding their values and beliefs and goals and objectives. So leading with empathy is always the best approach. And to start that off, you just ask open-ended questions and get to know someone to find out more about their values and beliefs.
I think it's a myth that when you think you need certain position, like formal position to influence people, building rapport. That's the step that you need to go through before you can influence people. Building rapport to different people, different audience, requires different approach. That thing you need to use combination of heart and mind. You need to release some empathy. To become influential takes time. I mean, not everyone is, charismatic, and then you can win people right away.
Awesome. Thank you to everyone who shared their views on influencing peers. So trust and empathy are very, very important ways to be able to influence peers. Just being a regular human being, caring for people, and forming relationships and trust over time. People around you know that you're looking out for them. You want them to be successful, you want to be successful. And win-win situations are going to be the best outcome you can get to. I think that sometimes people can get a bit hung up about influencing peers. And it is difficult to do sometimes. It's not something like, you've got control of yourself and you don't have control over somebody else. So a leader shortcut is to be able to request somebody to do a particular task. You don't have that advantage as a peer. So you've got to find other ways, different ways to get an outcome. And over time, forming trust takes time. Forming relationships, knowing that you're looking out for each other, all of that takes time to establish, to practice, to go through, hard times with teammates, to actually get to a point where, that's highly functional and you can help influence each other and learn and grow from each other. I want to tell you a bit of a story once about, it's one of the best teams I've ever worked in. And at the very beginning of this team formation, we were all new. No one kind of knew how each other liked to work. Some people had worked together before, but, we were kind of kicking things off new. So we're still forming as a team. And in that scenario, I remember we were talking about a particular way, a particular technical design to do something. So we're all a group of software engineers, right? So we're there looking at, what are some architecture decisions that we can make to achieve the outcome? I had been in a project previous to this one where we used the similar architecture. So I was able to talk to the team and say, look, I just came out of this project in the same company that was. So I just came out of the project recently. This was something we learnt from that project. So, things went really well in the project, but there were a few things that could have been better. So in sharing that experience, I was able to take them through the learnings that we learnt from. Now, some of the proposals and solutions that I was proposing weren't all accepted by everyone in the team. And so we were all talking through those options and going, having a pretty healthy debate. There's a big thing that stands out to me about influencing peers, because I remember that, I had learnt those things. I kind of had hard data on, hey, these things could have worked better. We ended up with this outcome that kind of wasn't the most desirable outcome, but I couldn't influence all of my peers to be able to go in a certain direction. And I just remembered at the time thinking about it and going, well, I'm here, I'm part of the team. Part of my job is to, try and influence my peers so they can get a better outcome. But the reality is you're not going to win every battle, and you just have to move on. So as a team, you're going to have different opinions. You need to be able to reconcile them. You need to be able to put your opinions away when it's time to all come to a decision and go, we're going to go forward with this option. It may not be your preferred option, but sometimes you have to chalk that up to be able to, I can continue learning how to influence peers better. Next time, I can get closer to the outcome that I'd like to see happen. Coming up next, we're going to hear from the members of our community about what are the biggest challenges or blockers to influencing our peers. Check it out.
Not understanding someone's style and where they're coming from, and trying the opposite style to what they need. So if they're they prefer direct speak, not giving them the direct speak and continuing doing that over and over again and not trying a different approach is probably the biggest blocker to influencing peers. So if it's not working, try something else. But if you continue trying the thing that's not working over and over again, you actually do more damage to that relationship long term, and possibly destroy all levels of trust and rapport that you might have built up before then. Flipping, so for me, my personal values and beliefs aligned to my number one is honesty, and my number two is fairness. And someone else that might be lower on their priority list, it might be around the 9, 10. So just understanding what their top priorities are in terms of their strength model, and trying to appeal to those two strengths.
Ego. We all have our own stories around our level of capabilities, what our experience can bring, why we think we're right. And some people, though, can have ego in the context of a self-belief that they're not right or they're not good enough, because it's not. And influencing isn't just coming from a perspective of I have an opinion, I have to get it across, and I need to make that happen. You can also have individuals with either different personality types, potentially quiet and more introvert, for example, or people who just don't have that self-belief in the value of their own opinions. And it's as much an influencing skill and opportunity for those individuals with those type of personalities, for them to add value, as it's an opportunity for people who have strongly held views which they hold tightly, for those types of individuals to change as well. So ego, because that all ties in with what you think of yourself and how self-aware you are or aren't. And if you're not self-aware, you're not able to change, and you're not actually seeing what's happening around. You're just playing it in the context of your own story.
Just your mindset, I think. Everything is in the mind. So if you come with the good intention, and you know how to build rapport with different audience, just be mindful about certain things like their culture, their personality, And again, you can't use the same approach to different audience, so you have to be, it's like tailor-made approach to different audience, different individuals.
Different opinions. I feel like if they have their own perspective, different opinion, it might be hard to make them believe that what your suggestion or what you are offering is actually another way of doing things, is a better way of doing things, and it has to be a communication and agreement between two parties. And maybe what you are offering is not the best solution either, so it's about communicating and understanding each other's opinion and to find the best solution to the problem.
So that's a wrap. We figured out how to lead and influence our peers. Now, I really love the points about building empathy and trust with people. I think that was amazing. I think the other thing that was really important to cover was to not get too hung up on not being successful. This is something, ultimately, that decisions that people make are outside of your control. The best you can do is just figure out how to influence and lead people better. And that just means to connect with people in a more human way, to understand them, to figure them out, to kind of communicate well with them, to be able to learn all the skills needed and measure and adjust and take on the feedback for next time. So to get in touch and ask any questions or anything like that, you can send an email, podcast@leadershipofawesome.com. Or if you're on some kind of platform consuming it right now and they have comments in there, you can stick a comment in there too, and I'm going to read all of them. So let's get cracking, keep being awesome. We'll catch you next time. See you later.